This way, you guys don't get punished for being here. Fun time. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
We're going full
Swift kick
screen.
martial
Yeah,
arts.
full screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys
Yeah, I
are out
can
of
see it.
California. And what's interesting, he's following the Empower Kickboxing 4 module program, but he has completely different terminology for everything he does. So you don't hear him talk about life skills or little dragons. He calls them pathfinders. There's just a really interesting twist to make this his own. It's a nice production. And there is audio. You can hear the kid music.
My name is Brian Cowell. I'm a fourth degree black belt in Taekwondo. I have over 20 years of boxing and mixed martial arts experience, and I'm the CEO, head coach, and founder of Swift Kick Martial Arts. So there's 3 primary things that we really value here at Swift Kick, and that is 1, functional fitness. What is functional fitness? It's getting in really, really good shape in a healthy way. We also value functional martial arts training. So we're teaching clients valuable skills for practical self-defense if they ever had to use it in that type of situation. And we also value the life performance element of martial arts, meaning martial arts extends so far beyond just the physical elements. We have how it affects you at work, how it affects you in your relationships, how it affects you as a person and your own personal development. And basically here at SwiftKick, we encompass those 3 elements into our training program on a daily basis. We have 4 different distinct training modules that covers a different set of material. We'll have a boxing module that goes over outside boxing skills to keep an opponent at a distance. Then we talk about kicking skills and kickboxing, how to use your legs functionally for self-defense. And we have a mid-range boxing module. This is where the real war happens if you're ever on the street and have to defend yourself, toe-to-toe, standing with an opponent. And then lastly, we have a clinch module. Clinch is basically close quarter fighting. How do you overcome an opponent who's being overly aggressive physically with you? How do you prevent them from taking you down on the ground? How do you do those things to them? And how do you maintain control and composure in all of these different environments? SwiftKick's Pathfinder program, which is our youth program, kids 5 to 11, is pretty unique in the industry also. So what we're doing is we're teaching modern mixed martial arts to young kids, but we're really, really undergirding it with traditional values. The kids wear traditional gis. They work on earning ranks. Discipline's huge in our program. The kids have to say, yes, sir, they're on top of it. However, the content and curriculum, highly different. These kids are really focusing on working on really good fitness techniques. They're getting in great shape. And they're learning boxing skills, wrestling skills, self-defense skills that they can use right away if they ever were in an altercation with another child or a situation where they had an adult who might try to be grabbing them and taking them somewhere. Essentially, these kids are having a ton of fun, getting a great workout, and learning genuinely practical skills, while all at the same time building their discipline and their respect and their obedience at home. Really important things that we really value, as not just in our training program, but that we encourage that this is what a martial artist looks like. So it's really cool that a lot of families feel like they can train here because mom and dad can get a great workout and have their program feel it meets their needs, while it also meets the needs of their little kids. That's really, really unique, and that's one thing that our families really love about training here at SwiftKick.
Explorer, Pathfinder, Impact, Champion. That is cool.
That was cool. You said they're in California?
Yeah, Carlsberg. And I really start helping schools with their YouTube channels, and they have a really nice one. And this is so important because YouTube is obviously owned by Google. It's the second largest search engine, and you can rank for all kinds of great stuff here. See, they've got San Diego and Carlsbad in their titles. So these will come up in searches. And what's cool is that if it's a good video, it'll come up in the search, and they'll go right away and watch you teach. And I think that's really, if you're a good teacher. I mean, if you're good on camera, that's going to make a difference and help. So we are here today discussing testing ideas for Empower Kickboxing that can apply to any school. And this is pretty different. I doubt we're going to go an hour, but we'll answer all your questions and see what we can accomplish. We close the windows from my coaching session I just completed, and we're going to jump over to an overview, very simple, bare bones overview. This is how the Empower Kickboxing curriculum works. And I want to jump here and take a look at, and all of this is suggested, the belt exam requirements for black belt. Now, this is really important to understand. No school has to do this. No Empower Kickboxing school has to follow this curriculum to the T. This is not a traditional program where you're going to come under the wrath of Grandmaster Graden for not doing this the way that he does it. Your way is fine. You get to pay your own bills. So the curriculum, what we're trying to do here with Empower Kickboxing is really provide a wide range and a well-versed set of skills for our students. So rather than going really deep into one traditional style, which most schools do, Taekwondo was the system for me, we take literally, with my experience, the best from a bunch of different systems. So the way I like to put it, explain it, is that rather than force fit a student into the framework of a traditional Asian style that's decades old and probably untested, we have no idea who created these in most cases. We don't know their qualifications. We don't know how much they dealt with violence on a regular basis. Mostly like Funakoshi and Kano, these were scholars. These were, professors, not exactly street fighters or law enforcement. So rather than try and take the modern day post-COVID American student and squeeze them into that framework, we take the best from all the different systems, no matter what the origin, and we calibrate it to the needs of each student. And this is really important, and it works great. So this is why we have a curriculum that has 4 modules. Over here, I'm going to share my screen. Where am I going to share my screen to this time? I'm going to take a look at the Empower Kickboxing website and go into a little bit of the member zone so you can see what I'm describing. And we're going to go back to sharing the screen. Right there. Okay, so here we are in the members area of Empower Kickboxing. There's a lot of good stuff in here. We're talking today about testing and exams and transitioning from your current program over. A lot of schools go completely Empower Kickboxing. A lot of schools just pick and choose, and it makes no difference to me. It's your business. But when we dive into the lesson plans, here is how the program is delivered. Year 1, year 2, and that's all we have. We don't have year 3 or 4. You get a black belt inside of 2 years because you're only doing basic skills. So you get good at them really fast. There's no kata. There's no traditional skills. So here we are in year 1, semester 1. The semester is these modules. Module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4. Each one of these is a month. Sorry about the, my screen's not wide enough. We split the kids self-defense, the self-defense into kids and adults, so you can mix and match as you like. And every skill, every segment of the class is demonstrated for you. So here is module 1, week 1. There are 4 weeks. All the modules have the same number of weeks. And then whatever it is that we're teaching in the class, we're asking you to teach in the class, pops up on a video so that you can see how it's taught.
This really is a deadly karate
And
chop.
even more so, you can use this with multiple instructors because then it gives you a common language. And it gives you curriculum consistency from class to class, from school to school, from instructor to instructor. So all the drills that we do, everything, all the way through, is demonstrated just like that. So each one of these modules has a different focus. Module 1 is martial arts. That means that in the skills area, and this is the only place that makes a difference, the students are going to learn martial arts strikes, knife hand, wrench hand, palm heel, monkey paw, that kind of stuff. In the warm-ups, in the drills, in the cool down, it's kickboxing, generic, calisthenics. So it's not focused on a specific system. The skills area of each module focuses directly on that particular module. So in class 1, we taught knife hand. In class 2, we're going to review knife hand. And it just goes on down. And then we have a lot of variety in how these are presented. But that's just a quick how the modules work and how they're going to tie into testing in just a few minutes. Whoa. Earthquake. Okay, going back here. There are 3 semesters in a year. Each one has the same modules. The content in the modules will change, but the modules won't change. And then year 2. When it comes to testing, this is where we have to kind of take off our black belt eyes or remove our black belt eyes. And what that means is that most of us were taught that there should be requirements for a test. And that only makes sense. A test has requirements. What's interesting about that is, right now, can you see the Empower Kickboxing testing and exams image? I'm going to say no.
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
you can. Okay, you should now.
See the lesson plans overview page. Oh, there we go.
Okay, good. All right.
I see it now.
So let's think about this, guys. What do people enroll their kids in martial arts for? What's number 1 top of the list?
The kids?
Yes.
Probably discipline and fitness, I would think.
David, what do you think? What do you think?
That was me. I'm thinking discipline and fitness, although I usually push the self-defense aspect. But
Ron, you've got some experience. What do you think?
The discipline and respect.
Yeah, okay. Well, what's the first discipline a student learns in a martial arts school?
At our school, it's the yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. That lingo, and then when they come to the mat, they bow on the mat to clear their mind, to focus, to get ready for that class. That's what we primarily focus on in the beginning, so that we can get their heads right. So when they're on the mat, they're ready to learn and ready to focus.
Okay, Mark Weber, I see you there. You're muted right now. Would you like to answer that question? It's pretty simple. In 3, 2, 1. Thanks, Ron.
No problem.
Answers are typical. However, I'm going to say, I can't say they're wrong, but they're late. The first discipline in a martial arts school is to come to class. That's huge. That's a big deal. And it's overlooked. I think it is, again, the number 1 discipline, because everything that Ron said and David said was exactly right, but the student had to be there in order to learn that. They have to be there consistently in order to learn that. So I kind of had this aha moment many years ago. Just real quick background: the Empower Kickboxing started out as ProStar in the mid 1990s. It evolved to Empower Boxing, and then to Empower Kickboxing. This is nothing new. It's just something I've been doing for a long time. Basically, taking what I've learned and applying it to the real world in martial arts schools. That said, first discipline is you have to come to class. So that's the requirement in order to advance in Empower Kickboxing. You've got to come to it. Again, each one of you can make your own decision about this. But to me, 75% of attendance, that's pretty good. And it's helping the parents also to motivate the children to to continue coming to class. There's a couple ways to do that. One is we encourage all students to practice 20 minutes a day on the days they don't come to class. And right now I'm putting together a series of videos that will walk the kids and the adults through a 15 to 20 minute practice session. So just the YouTube version, they just pop in me and I take them right through it. Warm-ups and everything. Second to that is that since we have our skills are so basic, the foundation skills are kickboxing, jab, cross, uppercut, hook, front kick, back kick, side kick, round kick, 5 elbow shot techniques, and 10 blocks. They're all super easy compared to traditional martial arts. So it's not really a matter of them having to memorize it like most schools. It's not even a matter really of executing with good form. And we're going to kind of explore what this means here in just a second. Initially, we know there's 4 stages of learning. The first stage is, I don't know what I don't know. That's a white belt. And by the way, there's no reason you have to start people with white belt. You could start with gold belt, start with blue belt. Makes no difference. And their view and ideas of what are important in the martial arts are shaped by you as the leader. So you don't have to start with white belt. So I don't know what I don't know. So then, you learn the straight punch. The instructor teaches the straight punch. I remember the first time that happened to me. Wow, that makes a lot of sense because I was raised on haymakers, John Wayne and all that kind of Clint Eastwood stuff. So I don't know what I don't know. Then I know what I don't know, but I can't do it very well. That's second 2. Now we're getting into green belt. I know what I don't know. Now I know what to do, but I have to think about it first. Level 3. I know what to do, but I have to think about it first. Brown belt level. And hopefully a black belt is unconscious competence. I can do it. I don't have to think about it. Now what are the barriers to that? You can sum it up in one word: complexity. The more complex your curriculum, the more you're pulling hands back to the hip in the first half of the class and then telling them in the second half of the class to put their hands up, the more complexity and confusion you're creating. But we don't do that. We eliminate that complexity, which eliminates a tremendous amount of confusion. So in this particular case, a student starts in semester 1, and they can start anywhere. They can start in semester 2 or 3. It makes no difference because the foundation skills are so easy to learn that a student can learn them in one class. Jab, cross, uppercut, hook. And that student can be in the class with a black belt. So I've got a white belt 13-year-old and a 50-year-old black belt in the same class together. How is that possible? How can they both be engaged? Well, the kid is working on the mechanics of the jab, cross, hook he just learned. It's a little awkward. He's just now getting it. The black belt is working on the little nuanced things about how he punches or kicks, or whatever the technique is that they know they need to work on. So for me, it would be, I tend to crowd my jab. So I'm always working on extending the jab more. And then the advanced student would have more focus on footwork. Every time you throw a combination, and this is big, step in with the combination, engage the techniques, clear out, and then change position. So every time a combination is thrown or a technique is thrown, those 4 elements are part of it. You're not just standing there and throwing techniques in the air. There's always cross the line. I've got to know when to cross that line. I got to get across the line to attack, and then I engage whatever the attack is: punch, kick, knee. Then I've got to close the door behind me, clear out, reopen the distance, and then I change my alignment. That's huge. So when I'm evaluating students, it's not so much just on their jab, cross, uppercut, hook, but I'm looking at their footwork. I'm looking at how they're composed as they move, how they maintain balance going in and out, their hand positions, etc. So this would be, again, that brand new student. He's just learning the physical part. Student's been there for a little bit, is getting the mechanics down. The students that's been there for a year or so is in the stage where they're having to think about it, but they're getting it down. And then the guy that's been there for 2 years, he doesn't have to think about it at all. He just fires away. So semester 1, then we go to semester 2, and at the end of each module, I wasn't clear on this, sorry. At the end of each module, which is 4 weeks, we encourage you to award a stripe. It does not have to be a test. And there's a good 30% of adults have test anxiety. It doesn't have to be a test. People don't like tests. They love ritual. They love events. That's why we have so many weddings, bar mitzvahs, graduations. So At the eighth class, at the end of that 4th week, you award a stripe, 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 and then maybe a red stripe here, which qualifies them to earn their next belt. And what a lot of schools are doing for Empower Kickboxing, they're doing that on a Friday night graduation. So some of the guys are very creative about it because they make it like fight night. Each kid has his own walk-in music. There's a lot of excitement. The parents are taking pictures. It's all over social media. So at the end of each semester, they get their 4th stripe and they advance to the next belt. So semester after semester after semester. So that's year 1 right there. And that will be repeated for year 2. And at that point in Empower Kickboxing, they're easily qualified for a black belt because they don't have a wide variety of techniques. They have a lot of very basic techniques they get really, really good at. And they can apply that. Because in class, rather than teaching a kata that does not introduce strategy, we spend that time on strategy. For instance, is there a kata that teaches you how to fight a taller fighter? Is there a kata that teaches you how to fight a counter fighter? Is there a kata that teaches you how to fight somebody that's faster than you? And the answer to all that is no. Those are important strategies both in sport and in self-defense, to some degree self-defense, but in sport for sure. It's the science of combat. It's the science of sparring. And that's very engaging. It's interesting. And it's far more effective than doing Batsai for the 47th time saying, next, step, step, keep your chin up, step, pull your shoulders back, step, get deep in that balance, step, pull your hands back to your hip, none of which translates to reality. So Empower Kickboxing, again, the suggested testing process is each module is a stripe. After 4 modules at the end of the semester, they advance to the next belt. After 2 years, they can go into the black belt level. And that, I think, would be a test. So we're going to switch over to black belt requirements or suggested black belt requirements, which should be pretty entertaining because I'm a black belt at doing, I'm a black belt at, where to go? Okay, new share. Black belt requirements. This is more really taken from when I had a school and I had students training for black belt. Areas of performance, today I would call those SOPs, standards of performance. Physical fitness, number 1. Public speaking, number 2. And many students said that was the hardest part. The hardest part of the exam was a 3-minute presentation they had to make. Technical skills, and then their ability to teach those skills and answer questions like, what is the holy grail of fighting in a ring? What's the number 1 rule? So questions like that, and they don't have the opportunity to hear the questions in advance. These are just questions that have been integrated into their training since their very first class. So they ought to know this stuff. They hear it over and over. What are the 4 parts to every attack? I've already told you that 3 or 4 times tonight. Penetrate, engage, clear, change position. Penetrate, clear, penetrate, engage, clear, change position. So that's part of it as well. Physical fitness, push-ups, sit-ups, all that kind of fun stuff. Public speaking, you think about that. I don't know what kind of classes you guys had or have, but if you look at this now new share, real quickly, I'll show you just a little bit. This is from one of my black belt graduations.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 black belts as guests up here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
About 700 people in the audience.
Are United States Karate Team members chosen from throughout the nation.
Each family member paid $5 to be in the audience.
Ms. Davis was the first female ever named the United States Karate Team in its 20-year history when she made the cut in 19.
And just gonna. This is the. Well, this is all traditional stuff. White geese, bow to your belt. I was deeply in there. Now we're awarding the belts. And there's all kinds of emotion and fun stuff. I'll just speed on through for you. And so that was I guess somebody got a standing ovation there. Yeah, the whole class. And then they're reciting the student creed. There you go. I have another one that shows one of the speeches. I won't take you through that. We'll go back to here instead. Any questions, comments, quotes so far? You have to unmute if you have one.
Do you recommend test fees if you're running tests?
If you're upfront with the students from the very beginning, it's not a problem. What a lot of schools do is they kind of hide that fact and it becomes a surprise. Personally, I transitioned from requiring testing fees. I made the announcement, you can prepay all your testing fees through Black Belt for 50% off. That was a very good month. So a lot of people did that. It created a lot of revenue. From that point on, I raised the tuition to cover it. So this way, it's never kind of a burden, especially if you've got 2 or 3 kids in the school. It's just part of the tuition. So, and I was always the most expensive. I made that very clear, and I made it also clear as to why I'm the most expensive. Because, and I would say this, anybody can open a martial arts school. You can come out of a prison. You can come out of a college with an MBA. That's a wide spectrum. And both ends of that spectrum, people open schools all the time. So I've worked really hard to get these skills. And this was exactly what I would say to a parent. She goes, well, why do I have to sign a contract for 12 months or 6 months? I said, Mrs. Jones, I've worked really hard to develop these skills. We are the best in the area. And there's no way I'm going to spend 6 months with your child, putting my heart and soul into getting him ready for him to take off for baseball or him to get some kind of whim where he doesn't want to come to class anymore. So that's why I'm committed. And we expect our students to be as committed as well. So would you prefer to go with the Monday, Wednesday class or the Tuesday, Thursday class? That's always end with a question, by the way. Always feed it back with a question. So there you go. That's my answer to that. Testing fees, I know guys that are all for them. I'd rather have the highest expensive. And here, highest tuition. Here's an example. This guy came to my school with one of my flyers. And this is 1987. And it was for a summer program, 3 months for $2.99. It includes the uniform. And he says, I accidentally took this to a different school. And what the school he took it to, the guy was a 10th degree black belt. He made that very clear. I'm a master, grandmaster, supermaster, 10th degree black belt. And the guy walked in with the flyer, handed it to the guy, and the guy said, that's not our school, but I can tell you this, he's charging way too much. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. How can you perceive what you do with the wonderful life-changing benefits that you can give somebody through martial arts and think that that's too much? Because the question I ask black belts all the time in my seminars is, by a show of hands, how many of you would sell me your black belt? You never took martial arts, you never took the first class for $50,000. Hands? Anybody? No? Not a hand goes up. $100,000. Hands? No, nobody. $250,000. Hands? Nope, nobody. Nobody would do that. At the same time, they're afraid to ask for $150 a month in tuition. So that's a whole different subject matter. It's actually covered very well in my book, The Truth About the Martial Arts Business. So, okay, there we go. We talked about public speaking skills. And I wanted to show you that when my guys got up to speak, they had an audience. And often it was recorded for my TV show as well in those days for a little bit more. Technical skills. So we run them through all the requirements. We don't really have requirements. There was a time in Empower Kickboxing where we had fighting forms that you had to remember. So for instance, jab, cross, uppercut, switch knee to the front, turn opposite side of the body, jab, cross, uppercut, switch knee, turn. So that's combination 1 in both directions and on both sides of the body. Then combination 2, jab, elbow, switch, headbutt, turn, same thing. So you get the same benefits of a kata, but you're doing a more practical combination. There was a time we were requiring those. It just doesn't make sense to me anymore, but some of our schools are still doing it. So the requirements are hands up, consistent stance and balance, integrity. That is huge. And I tell you where a lot of schools are failing their students, and I'm getting feedback, positive feedback from this editorial that I wrote last week. If you are having students stand in line and then come to your target and do a technique or a combination on the target one time, and then go to the back of the line to wait for the next opportunity, you're robbing that student of all kinds of benefits. Number one, they should be able to get a lot more reps in than that. And I've got a video that it measures somebody kicking the target without standing in line. They've got a partner holding the target, and this person's kicking the target, versus a kid who's in a line of 5 kids. And he kicks the target one, and he runs to the back of the line. Waits. One kick, runs to the back of the line. Waits. The adult kicking the pad got 40 kicks inside a minute. The kid standing in line got something like 5 kicks in the minute. I mean, it's insane. That's number one. Number two, when you're holding the mitts for somebody, it's a 2-part drill. I'm developing my defense. I'm looking at punches. So I'm looking at punches and kicks come at me that I'm blocking and picking off and holding. So a good instructor would first, number one, regardless of age, explain that your job is to be a good partner. Hold it just like this. So this is a 1-2, and then you're going to turn it for a hook. All right, let's all do that together. 1-2, turn for the hook. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do the uppercut. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Good. Now, occasionally, if you see your partner's hands come down, take the pads and let them know about it. Don't hit them hard. Just give them some feedback. So now the child is not only holding, he's seeing punches and kicks come at him, getting used to seeing punches and kicks come at him. That is huge for defense. And then there's counters. You see the person punch and drop their hand, step in, and give them a light tap. That's a counter technique. So now a student, they're not just robots standing there with the pads bored out of there. They're engaged. They're moving. They're using footwork to retreat, to move, to pressure, to try and corner the student. So there's a lot more going on with pad work than I see in traditional martial arts school. I don't know. I think it started in the Taekwondo schools, the whole stand in line and get one kick in and then run to the back of the line. You have to set expectations for these kids. They say, well, kids don't like to hold targets. But then you're not setting the expectations. You're not motivating them to hold the targets. And I just described to you just some of the reasons why the target holder gets as much out of the drill as the person striking the targets. And that's absolutely critical. I just got the phone with an Empower Kickboxing school that I'm coaching, and he said that was a massive difference in his class over the course of the last week. He says the kids love it. They're active. They're breaking a sweat, and they're getting better. So keep that in mind. So we're going back to requirements. And right there, I was talking about balance consistency. Now, if I'm standing in line, is my balance being challenged? No, I'm just standing. When they go to hit the target, typically they don't hit a stance and then fire the target and come back to the stance and change position. No, they walk up, sloppy round kick. The instructor says, awesome, runs to the back of the line. 40, 30 seconds later, he gets to do it again. Doesn't hit a balance, throws a kick, awesome, runs to the back of the class. Those people need refunds. It just blows my mind how lazy it is to teach. Okay, sorry, I go on these rants because I really do care. So teach and understanding, answer questions such as how do you fight a leadoff fighter? What's the most important skill a fighter can have? What's the golden rule of fighting in the ring? That's gold. And you know what the questions were when I was coming up? You know what the questions were when I had students? Who was the 16th emperor of the Kukuru dynasty in Korea? Oh, yeah, that's really important. You got to know that. You're failing high school history, but you got to know that. I love this stuff. Okay, self-defense is pretty, this is all Cobra stuff. This is not martial arts, not the stuff that I learned in my karate class. There are no one steps being called self-defense in here. And then sparring and endurance. And this is really important. Look at the criteria. Number one, always dangerous. What does that mean? Always, it means you're engaged in the fight. You're not on your heels, huffing and puffing, and psychologically submitting to your opponent. Even if you are huffing and puffing, you're still daring him to come across that line. And that's a mindset. It's a mindset that I never quit. Whether it's I'm going to college or trying to get a degree, this is a job that I've got to work extra hard for, whatever it is. So many schools talk that stuff, but then they call everything they do awesome and good job. So crazy. So they must complete the rounds regardless of injury. If you quit, and this is not serious injury, but my students are taught, and I've always done this, once I made the transition out of traditional Taekwondo, you realize that most Taekwondo schools never teach how to punch or defend against a punch to the face? How can you call that self-defense? Anyway, I digress. If you get hit, like you get the wind knocked out of you or something, give yourself 10 seconds. Give yourself a standing 8 count. In this case, a standing 10 count. Raise your hand. I gotta stop. And okay, I'll be all right. Okay, I'm back in. As opposed to running off like I saw recently at a Taekwondo school. The kid got hit in the stomach, got the wind knocked out a bit. She was 14 years old. She ran off, and her and mom, like a movie, slowly met in the middle of the floor and hugged. And she gave it was crazy. And I'm not talking about rib knocking out or real injuries or bone breaks or anything. Someone gets a wind knocked out, or someone gets rocked. Teach them to give themselves a 10-second recovery time and then get back in the fight. Moderate contact is allowed. The rule for sparring in my classes is the person getting hit determines how hard you hit. If that's too hard, it's entirely up to you. If the head rocks, it's too hard. But on an exam, moderate contact, we do crank it up a little bit. And we try to match by size and experience, but sometimes we, for especially second, third, and fourth degree black belts, will match them up specifically with guys that they're different sizes. We'll match them up with a taller fighter and then ask them what, as you're sparring, what is it you're trying to accomplish here? What are you doing because that person is taller? And then, of course, defense is as important as offense, so keep your guard high. Traditional martial arts completely ignores defense. Anything that has you stepping forward and executing a block with power, that has nothing to do with defense at all. Why do you need power in a block? You don't need power in a block. So these are the suggested black belt requirements. It's by no stretch a requirement for any kind of Empower Kickboxing school. So I have ranted and raved, and I'm going to turn it back over to you guys. Any questions, comments, quips, quotes? Please unmute first.
Those requirements are going to be on the website?
Yes, they are. They're there now. I'll send you the link, though, and I'll make it more clear.
Okay.
And we'll have video excerpts also. So I want to show, like I said before, I've got a little bit of public speaking. I'm not going to show the whole speech, but I'll just give you a sense of what that is, because I think your ability to speak in public in one-on-one is a reflection of your confidence level, and we're selling confidence all the time. Any other questions, quips, quotes?
No.
All right, I'm off to a round table tonight for YouTube for Business. And I'm a big fan of it. So if you don't have a YouTube channel, get one. And then next week, I'll start helping you put it together so it can help you in your recruitment of students and your position in the area, the high-profile best martial arts school in your area. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Tell all your friends.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.